We want to give you a few headache-saving tips for the new school year. The number one issue we saw with repairs last year was power cables. This one, I can tell that it looks like it's been wrapped a little too tightly because of the apparent fresh permanent here that it just received. The big problem with this is that it can cause some exposed wire. When it twists too tight, it can expose it. Sometimes pets help this along too. But exposed wire can be a pretty serious safety issue. But what we run into is when we try to turn this back into Apple, since we do lease these on behalf of the student, Apple charges us, the school, $46.45 for this. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. A lot of students are wrapping their cable as tight as they can, and that's what causes that twisting. A lot of times we see this sort of situation where the neck is cracked open. We saw a lot of power chargers looking like that. So when you pack up your power charger, what's best is just kind of let it hang loose and straight there. What I do with mine is I just take the skinny part of the cable here and I just fold it in half, and then I fold it in half one more time, and then I just leave it in the bag like that. That way it's not getting a lot of tension on it. It's real easy to keep it in there loose so it doesn't mess up. If you've had a smartphone power cable, you know how delicate these things can be and how often they break. Now, speaking of smartphone power cables, a lot of times when we do break ours, we go find an inexpensive replacement, and those often don't have good quality grounding. So when you plug that into the computer, it shorts the battery out and makes it to where you can't charge it. We can fix that, but it takes a long time. We have to take the case off, remove the battery. It can be kind of a headache to be without your laptop for a while. Another big issue we had is students were wanting to carry the laptop around with the lid open, treating it like a big iPod. This can weaken the hinge when they're walking that way, especially if it has a cover on it. But the bigger issue is that the hard drive is spinning when the lid is open, and that can cause damage to the hard drive and make you lose your files, and we don't want to lose work. One other big issue, if a key falls off, not a big deal if you bring it to us immediately, because we can replace the key, and that doesn't cost anything. But if you wait and any of the components underneath of it fall off, it can very quickly go from a simple, free key replacement to over $100 top case replacement. It's very quick how that switches over. So just to review very quickly, make sure that with our power cables, we store them nice and loose, not a lot of tension. Don't use non-standard phone cables to charge your phone on your computer. Don't walk with the lid open. And if a key comes off, bring it to the help desk immediately so we can fix it for free instead of a over $100 top case. Hope you enjoy your device this year and get a lot of great use out of it in your classroom.
Okay, the objectives of the session, number one, is to provide a context for students and parents about the one-to-one initiative. We want you to understand that we're trying to create a personalized learning environment for our students, and that means that students are more engaged. And so we want you to know that this is more than just the technology itself. It's how we use the technology in class. Again, we're going to inform students and parents about the guidelines, expectations, and policies. This is not just about a sit and get. It's about ownership and responsibility that the students are going to have to demonstrate in order to have this device. We're talking about $1.2 million in technology, and those costs can be up to $800 for a student who is not following policies or expectations and using the technology in the most appropriate way. So we want to protect you, the parents. We want to protect the students too. And also to communicate information concerning digital citizenship and internet safety. That is very important to us, how mature, how responsible our students are when it comes to using the technology. Knox County's commitment is to the concept of creating a technology support personalized learning environment. Our students will know what that means because they're more engaged in the learning. And we are one of 11 schools, we're called a cohort school, that has the capacity and the commitment to make this thing work to show how technology can benefit a student in the classroom. We have said before, in terms of the context, our kids, they've grown up in this world. They have cell phones, computers. It wasn't that way when I was growing up, so I know how that feels for a teacher who didn't grow up in that generation. It's a little bit tough, but our kids get it. And the thing about it is they are more engaged, and they love technology, and then they know how to use it in creative ways. But the problem is that we ask them to power down when they walk through the door, and that's not their world. And so we feel like we're cheating our kids, and we want to make sure that they have access to that because they can use it in creative ways. They're hyper communicators, they're goal planners, they're multitaskers, they're experts at figuring out and using technology, and they're active learners. So we felt like that we were holding our kids down by not having the opportunity to use technology. We say why? Because it's the right thing for them. I mentioned it is relevant, it's critical, it is the future of education, it's the future of our world. Technology is not going away, and more colleges and more businesses are going to require technology skills in the future. So we want our kids to be on the lead. So if you're sitting in the room right now, at this time you should have received, number one, the technology device procedures and expectations packet. Please read through that carefully and make sure that you address all of those concerns. Also, the technology device agreement and the technology device deployment check sheet. Please check your information and make sure that you have all the necessary corrections on the device agreement and that everything's good. Okay, what are they going to get? It's actually a laptop 13-inch MacBook Pro. It's about 4.5 pounds. It has 2 USB ports, a DVD drive, and what they're going to get is a laptop charger, the laptop itself, and a protective covering. They're also going to get a backpack. Okay, we're going to start with the device use. First and foremost, the care of the district's technology is the student's responsibility. The students should not be lending their technology device to another person. We equated this to Aaron's Rental Center. If you go rent a couch or a television, you bring it home, Aaron's Rental Center is not really concerned about who may have been involved in damaging or stealing, your couch or your television or whatever it is you rented. And so ours kind of operates the same way. If a student lends that to someone, then they are responsible for that device and who they lend it to. And we did run into some problems with that last year where they allowed somebody to get on their device and that student did something to it. And so I want to encourage them to not do that. Allow them to be responsible for it and to make sure that they are not sharing those passwords or giving access to something that to a person who could possibly be irresponsible for the device. They should never leave the device unattended. That has happened a few times where they leave a room or they don't secure it when they're in the locker room, or they may leave it in the car with the car unlocked and under hot conditions. So anytime that thing is unattended, they run the risk of it being stolen. Students need to charge their technology device each night at home, so it's fully charged when they arrive at school each day. We did have some concerns with that this year where students came in at 12, 14%, and then they're looking to plug or charge up in the classroom, and we just don't have the capacity right now to run 25 or 30 different cords in a room to charge. So students need to be very responsible about charging these things the night before. And then also failure to bring it to class and it does not release them from the work that they have in the classroom. It's just like the textbook. You can't say, well, I left my textbook at home, so I can't work today. It's important to have the device. That's why we're issuing it, because it is an important part of our classroom, and we want to make sure that they have access to all the materials that they need. A big piece of note here is that the technology device is the property of Knox County Schools and can be collected and inspected at any time. Students have no right to privacy for any material on a district technology device. So we reserve the right to check it at any point if we feel like that there are concerns and misuse with that device. Each technology device has a unique serial number and asset tag. The students should not modify or remove the tag. There'll be some pretty severe consequences for trying to remove that. And they should not write on or draw on or add stickers or labels directly to the technology device. We do have protective coverings. They can personalize those coverings and make them unique, but they should not do that directly onto the device. With this unique serial number and asset tag, it does enable us to locate the device if it is stolen. So last year we had about 8 devices stolen, and we have recovered 8 devices, and we are prosecuting 8 different people for that. So some tried to sell it on eBay, and some were stolen and passed them along to other people in Knox County. And because of the technology, and because we're able to track a ping in that we were able to secure and locate the devices. So I think word is out that doesn't work, and it's not worth their interest to go to jail or have to pay court costs for stealing a device. So, but at the same time, I want to make sure that you protect it, because there's always that outside chance that we can't recover it, and you are financially responsible, and that would be an $800 charge. So please take care of your device. It's the student's responsibility to back up projects and content So they may want to purchase a flash drive. I know our PTSA is selling drives. I think it's an 8 gig flash drive to save their information. But we are really encouraging our students to use the cloud, and that is a place where they can access their information from anywhere and not necessarily be on their device. So if they did leave their laptop at home and their information is stored on the cloud, they could use another device here at school and still be able to access that information from any device. If a student's technology device is not working or is damaged, students should report the problem immediately to the help desk. We have a full-time technician, we have a full-time technology trainer, so they have the capacity, the knowledge, the skill level to be able to work on these things and get the student back up and running as quickly as possible. But when it's not running, they don't need to try to work on that and fix it themselves. We have the capability of doing that in-house, so they need to get it down to the help desk ASAP. If the student's technology device is lost or stolen, the student should report the loss immediately to the administration, their SLC principal, or me. If the device is stolen off campus, a police report should be obtained. And then on page 9, you'll see the protocol associated with that. The quicker you get on that, the quicker you will get recovery. Students are responsible for using the technology device according to school and district policies and procedures. So once they leave our network here at school and they go home, it's important that they maintain and follow those rules. There's a way to track that information and ways to track their use. So they are responsible for that no matter whether they're in school or out of school. Each student will be expected to use the school-issued protective covering. Using that covering really helps for when there's impact or something's dropped on the device or even liquid spills. It has been able to protect a screen. A liquid spill runs around $400, so we want to make sure that that protective covering stays on it. And then when carrying it to and from school, it needs to be placed in a backpack or bag or other carrying case that's approved, because those are designed to protect the device in case it's dropped and will keep the screen from shattering or damaging any of the internal parts. It's also recommended that if students use a backpack, the technology device should be always placed in the backpack with the port side facing up where the drives are, because when you get pencil lead and other debris in the bottom of a backpack, it will get up in those drives. So you want to make sure that those ports are facing up so you don't have to worry about getting stuff in there. That was a problem with a few things we had last year. Not much. I think our students did a really good job with that. A big one here, the technology devices should be kept in room temperature and should not be exposed to the extremes of hot and cold. So leaving that in a car is a recipe for disaster. That needs to stay in a room with normal temperatures because it is very sensitive to heat and cold. We did have a lot of issues with liquids last year. We kind of poked fun at that. You would think that we wouldn't have issues with students trying to drink or eat around their technology device, but they did. And as a result, when that liquid gets on the keyboard and it's inside the device, it's going to ruin that hardboard or the motherboard, and that's a $400 cost. So they should not have any liquids or food near their technology. That could be a costly it will be a real cost to the parents if that takes place. So really work with your kids on that. Students should not use cleaners, sprays, alcohols, ammonia, abrasives, or anything like that, and should use a soft, lint-free cloth so they don't damage their screens. Because we don't want them spraying anything on there. They run the risk of that liquid damage. Students should always keep their technology device in the protective covering when it's not in use, and should not leave the technology device in a place where someone could accidentally sit or step on it. That did occur a couple of times last year. This laptop will be yours for the remainder of the time you're here at this school, so you need to take care of it. So we call it garbage in, garbage out. So you will receive that same computer when you turn it in, and just like last year, you're going to get the same one back. So look at the repair and replacement guidelines on page 6 as it refers to theft, non-preventable damage, preventable damage with negligence or willful damage or recklessness. So when something happens to the device, you want to refer to that to kind of know what's going to happen there and what that cost looks like. In terms of internet safety, the teachers will monitor student use in the classroom. The kids are going to receive training on the use of laptops and internet safety. They're going to engage in lessons about digital citizenship, and that is, what is their behavior? What is it supposed to be like? How appropriate should we be in the kinds of behaviors they have when they're on technology, especially for social media? If you want to research a little more about what that looks like, there are lessons on www.commonsensemedia.org. That is the actual website where we pull our lessons, and you can even learn a lot about this as parents at home. You can engage, don't have to have any kind of password to get on that site. In terms of the internet network filtering, we say that we are able to block kids, but we really can't. I mean, they have creative ways to get around. There are a lot of things blocked, but they can still get to social media. But we have some ways that we feel like that we can prevent them from being able to do that. Canvas is going to be our learning management system. All courses have an account. Students will be given assignments, take assessments, submit their work. That's a cloud-based program, so they don't necessarily have to have their computer to do that, but they'll log on to Canvas, and a lot of the work is there. And it's especially helpful for students who are absent and need their work. A lot of that's posted onto Canvas. Parents have the opportunity to be an observer for each class, so you can go in and see what your kids are doing, and it also enables us to communicate with you about your child's work. Parents, you set and you enforce the rules for internet and phone use at home. So because they're off our network, they do run the risk on your network of being able to pull down things that are inappropriate. We are going to spot check, and we're going to monitor and remotely check their computers from time to time, but you can check their history. In Firefox, you can go to history, show all history. Safari, you can look at the bookmarks, show all history. If the history is empty, you need to be asking your student why that history is empty. It should not be empty. So that is a tracking system for you to be able to look and see what they have been doing. If you need help with that, want to learn how to track that with your student, you let us know. We'll be happy to do it. I would set a time limit on the internet and instant messaging and social networks. Our students spend a lot of time there. They should not be spending a lot of time. Again, if you want to know how much time, we can tell you exactly how much because we track how they use the device and the programs they're looking at and gauge how much time they're on the internet. You should also know their personal username and password so that you can access that at any time. They do not reserve the right to that privacy, and you should ask it and you should know it. Internet guidelines are really important. Encourage your students to never give out personal information. Never use a parent's credit card online. Never share your passwords. Don't arrange face-to-face meetings. These are all problems that have happened in the past when students don't adhere to some of these expectations. Don't open an email if you don't know who sent it. Sometimes you can have spam or you can have viruses that are sent through the computer that way. Don't click on banner ads or pop-up ads on the websites. Never use bad language. Send threatening emails. That's all part of that cyberbullying gig that we certainly don't want our kids engaged in. Again, with social media, you need to monitor social media. Even though it says it's blocked by the KCS network filters, it is not. Our students know how to get around that, and so I think it's rendered useless to say that we have it blocked because they do know how to access, and we are working on that. But you need to make sure at home that you're checking that. That's usually, if there's opportunities for threats or bullying or inappropriate remarks, it does flow through social media. We will be doing digital citizenship, and we do encourage the students to use proper use there, but it does happen. And so if you can intervene and you can monitor that, it'll cut down on our intervention. Be aware of which social media sites your students use. There are a lot out there. Facebook is not the only one. Twitter, Vine, Snapchat, Tumblr, Instagram. You're going to look at a lot of different ways that students communicate. Ask them questions about it. Do your own research or call one of us. We'll be happy to help you with it. Talk with your kids about their permanent digital footprint. What they do there lasts forever. And so when they submit stuff, some of our students are under the impression that information just goes away with a delete. It's never deleted. There's always a digital footprint there, and it will carry with them the rest of their lives. So please make sure that you explain that to them. We will continue to do that in our sessions as well. Be alert to any cyberbullying and notify school immediately if it involves another student and you believe it's going to be brought into school. Obviously, we can't police what takes place at home, but if something takes place here at school where they are communicating at school through this device, we can intervene because it's during school time. But if it's something that takes place at home and you feel like it may spill over into school and cause a disruption for your child, we certainly want to know about it. There's a lot of social media out there, and some parents may not know what an app is. An app is an actual program that's downloaded to a computer or to a phone that allows you to execute some sort of application. Twitter is that first one. All these are universal symbols. When you look at Twitter, Facebook, Google Docs, there's a lot of stuff that our kids get through YouTube and videos. Pinterest is really popular, especially with the girls. When you look at Tumblr or Instagram, you take pictures and you can post it and communicate, message with that. Again, Twitter with blogs and cookies, you're able to go in and network with other communities and groups. So there are a lot of apps out there students like to use, and they're not all social media. They're really good apps that our students will use in class towards their learning. Quick review for internet safety. The lock indicates that you want to keep this thing locked up. You don't want to give out your passwords or anything, because that keeps it safe. As long as you are the only one looking at it, then we shouldn't have any issues or concerns with students getting in there. But oftentimes our students will give out their passwords. As in terms of soap, you need to keep it clean. The toothbrush. You wouldn't share your toothbrush, so you don't want to share your laptop. That could be detrimental if you give out that laptop. The toothpaste, once you have it out there, you can't take it back. You squirt toothpaste out of that tube, you can't put it back in. That's the same digital footprint that you create when you do something bad on the internet. It's out there, it's hard to retrieve it, and it's hard to correct that. And the last part's the permanent marker. It's not going to come out. People say that they delete it and then it's gone. That is not the case. It's always out there, and it's hard to fix a mistake once it's done. What is prohibited? Bypassing the filter. Even though it happens here, they should not be doing that here at school. And it will be caught, and they run the risk of losing their device. Also using another student's username or password, sharing passwords, downloading or installing things that are not approved, tampering with the hardware. We had students last year who tried to go in and manually fix their own computer. That cost them $800 because they didn't know what they were doing. They were not MAC certified. Chat rooms, instant messaging, social networking site, hosting non-school approved web pages, all of those things are prohibited. Please have that talk with your children, reinforce it when they get home. Certainly inappropriate material that is unacceptable in a school setting, pornographic, obscene, graphically violent, vulgar music, sounds, all these things. We want the device to be personalized for the kids, but it's got to be appropriate for school use. So we are going to monitor that. You need to monitor that at home as well. And certainly do not download or transfer from any kind of external drive. They can use the cloud to store their information, but it is not their device. They can't alter it. They can't physically try to change the device itself. Again, going back to the device procedures and expectations packet, all that information can be found there. So, last overview of the evening, step one, the training session. That's what we've done here. We've done overview of the digital citizenship and the KCS policy and procedures. Your next step is going to be the laptop deployment. You're going to pick up the laptop and the charger. Step three, you're going to log on. And now, certainly, if you have any fees or payments, all that needs to take place before you get the device. But once they get to step three, they're going to log on with Active Directory. And you as parents are going to be observers to learn the student's password. Stand behind them. Watch them put the password in. You need to know that. And then the last step is to finalize the paperwork. Students and parents will sign and turn in the paperwork, the technology device deployment check sheet, and a signed technology device agreement. That means that you're going to be financially responsible for whatever they do on the device, and to make sure that you are going to monitor and supervise that device. So I would encourage you to contact the school administration if you have any questions. You can get me on email at tim.berry@knoxschools.org. Certainly, if you want to follow what's going on with everything in our school, you can follow me at SD Cherokee for Twitter. And so at this time, I'd like to end the session by saying thank you for your participation today. I ask that you stay very involved in your child's activities here at school, and that you trust that we have the best interest in mind when making decisions for them. I have assigned an SLC principal to assist with the needs of each grade level, but my contact information I've given you. You're welcome to contact me if you need any help. If you really want to know what is going on, especially the positive things, I ask that you follow me on Twitter at SD Cherokee. I appreciate each of you, and I thank you for allowing us to be part of your child's life. At this time, we will open the floor up for questions, and your facilitator can provide you with any needed information that I have not provided. Thanks, and have a great evening.